Hi everyone, this is Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH1002, Social Media Innovation, and this is the overview video that gives a brief outline of what will be covered in the fourth lecture for TECH1002. And the idea this week is to think about visual mediation and the way in which popular music, contemporary popular music from a while ago in my case, which I still think of as contemporary, is used as a way to kind of, we've been covering the idea of mediation and remediation and kind of the introduction of the kind of the mashup culture where we take forms and practices from different types of media and we use them and we embed them into, and we use them to create new forms of media. So what we'll look at this week, in the first examples that we looked at the 1960s and we looked at the Velvet Underground, Andy Warhol. In the second example, we looked at glam rock and Roxy Music and pop art and Richard Hamilton. And this week, what we'll look at is Talking Heads and music television and the way that the music video became a popular form of culture and entertainment in the 1980s and has stayed with us subsequently. Well, what I want to start off thinking about really is kind of putting it into a context of what the 1980s were about really in terms of commercialization of culture. And it's the idea that kind of marketing took precedence and business and what we call kind of neoliberal economics kind of came to the fore, Thatcherism and Reaganism, those kind of things. And the idea of kind of there's a kind of a standardization of our culture. There's a kind of globalization. So remember the Campbell's soup cans from Andy Warhol, and the idea that this has become a kind of a sign of our globalized, homogenized, centralized kind of culture where automated products are turned out and we're kind of, we walk along the supermarket shelves and there's not really that much difference between products, and can you tell the fake products from the real products is one of the issues that we need to think about. So the whole kind of notion of product homogenization and the whole notion of kind of advertising and what differentiates products in terms of their brand identity. This is something that bands like, Talking Heads really dealt with because it was a contemporary issue and an emergent issue at the time. So we had artists and pop stars like Michael Jackson doing Pepsi commercials, and there was a crossover between commercial culture and pop music culture. But then bands like Talking Heads would kind of almost reverse that process, and they'd kind of make it seem, that crossover seemed quite strange. That was the ground in which they played, if you like, in that distance between what was the authentic and what was the inauthentic. And so there's kind of an approach. I mean, it's the music, I think, stands the test of time, and you'll hear it repeatedly used in films and television programs. But it's very much about television itself. It's very much about how we appropriate the world around us through the lens, quite literally the lens, the screen of television, and the kind of personalities and celebrities and that occur through televised culture. So we'll look at the use of the creative use of video, which had been a kind of like an artistic medium. It had been used for sports events in terms of television terms and live television and news, but there were also kind of artists using television video medium to intermix images. Now it's not up to the kind of the standard that we have today in terms of the perfection of the image, where you can't tell the difference between the fake and the real. This kind of revelled in the idea that it was entirely fake and that it didn't matter that it wasn't very good, but it was the suggestion that it was playing with the artificial which kind of came to the fore. So we'll consider how Talking Heads kind of represented this through music to MTV and things like that. I've got some interviews with Brian Eno, who was a member of Roxy Music but became the producer of Talking Heads for a number of albums, and kind of how that influenced the nature of the performance and the band that was put forward, and kind of where it leads on to in terms of collaborations and how the kind of recommendations from people like David Byrne and Brian Eno that they now have a message to a later generation, which, kind of retains that sense of challenge. I think that kind of says, don't accept what you are just given by corporate, slick, mass-produced media, but think about how you can define and shape your own choices and your own sense of mediation, your own ownership of media products in the process. So quite a few music videos to get through this week. Hopefully I won't make any bad jokes and bad puns this week, but you never know. These things could be spontaneous at times. So I'll see you at the lecture. The notes are up on the wiki. Go to wiki.hour.dmu.ac.uk. This video is posted on the wiki, so you know that already, because if you're watching it, you know where the wiki is. But I'll circulate it around via tweets and YouTube and via the DMU Commons blog as well. So just that direction to catch up with this. The notes are up on the DMU Commons wiki at wiki.hour.dmu.ac.uk. I'll see you on Tuesday.